Welcome back to the Technology Risk Podcast. Today we're looking at something that's, well, really shifting the ground under our feet in cybercrime. It's not just the usual suspects anymore, the big nation states, the organized syndicates. We're seeing a different kind of threat emerge.
Yeah, definitely. A new type of cybercriminal, highly effective and, frankly, causing some serious headaches.
And the name that keeps popping up is Scattered Spider.
That's the one. What's really striking, I think, is their profile. Often college-aged, incredibly tech-savvy. A lot of them seem to have sharpened their skills almost incidentally in online gaming.
Which somehow translates into bypassing really sophisticated corporate security. We're seeing this across major sectors,
Yeah.
airlines, insurance, big retail names.
It does, and the stats, they really paint a picture here. The FBI's cyber division. They noted an 80% jump in social engineering and SIM swapping attacks just last year, and they're pointing fingers largely at these younger groups.
So our goal today is to get into how these, youthful cyber criminals are changing the whole threat landscape. And most importantly, what you can actually do to protect your organization. We need some actionable strategies here.
Absolutely. We'll break down their methods, look at why they're working so well, and yeah, figure out what defenses actually hold up.
Okay, before we jump in, just a quick reminder.
Yeah.
Make sure you subscribe to the Technology Risk Podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts so you don't miss out on these discussions.
Right. So Scattered Spider's core methods, when you look at their playbook, two things really jump out. SIM swapping and very clever social engineering.
Let's start with SIM swapping. It sounds technical, but the concept is, well, it's fundamentally deceptive, isn't it?
It is. Essentially, the hackers trick or persuade someone at a telecom company to switch your phone number over to a SIM card they control.
And once they have your number, boom, that two-factor authentication code you rely on, it goes straight to them.
Exactly. It bypasses what many people and companies think of as a pretty solid security layer.
And they don't just sit on that access, do they? It escalates quickly.
Oh, incredibly quickly. We saw this with that major airline breach. Scattered Spider used SIM swapping as the entry point. The result? Huge operational disruption, lots of data exposed. It was messy.
And this isn't some rare event, right? The scale seems significant.
It really is. Cybersecurity Ventures put a number on it, over $100 million in losses globally just last year from SIM swapping. That figure, it tells you something about how effective this tactic is against maybe authentication methods that haven't kept pace.
Okay, so that's one angle. What about the social engineering side, specifically targeting help desks?
Yeah, this is where they really shine, unfortunately. It's an old trick, social engineering, but they've perfected it for the corporate environment. They are masters at manipulating customer support, help desk staff, using really convincing impersonations to get access they absolutely shouldn't have.
How are they fooling trained staff, though? That's the worrying part.
It comes down to sophisticated psychological manipulation. They do their homework, they sound legitimate. Think about that major insurer-sensitive customer data walked out the door because help desk staff were tricked into granting system access.
Wow. And is this a common way in?
Disturbingly common. Verizon's DBIR, their data breach investigations report, suggests over 70% of successful corporate breaches now have some kind of social engineering or help desk compromise at the start.
70%. That's a massive vulnerability.
It really is. It shows where the front line often is. It's the human element.
And what makes Scattered Spider's approach stand out? Is it just these two tactics?
It's how they use them. It's highly targeted, very adaptive. They don't just spray and pray with phishing emails. No, they do deep reconnaissance first.
Yeah.
They craft these really precise impersonations, and crucially, they adapt on the fly if something doesn't work. They're trying hard to avoid tripping any alarms.
That adaptability seems key.
Absolutely. Speed and precision. We saw it with that large retailer breach. The attackers successfully posed as IT staff and didn't just get basic access, they got high-level admin rights to core systems. That's not luck, that's planned execution.
Okay, so this raises the big question. Why are these younger hackers seemingly running rings around established corporate security? What gives them the edge?
Well, there are a few factors, I think. One is definitely their background. These gaming and tech skills. Complex online gaming often requires quick thinking, problem solving, finding loopholes. That translates very directly to hacking.
It's like a different kind of training ground.
Exactly. And they're comfortable with tech, they adapt fast, traditional security protocols can feel slow, maybe predictable to them.
And the stats seem to bear this out.
Yeah, CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, they noted something pretty stark. 65% of cybercrime groups targeting enterprises now seem to be led by attackers under 25.
65%. So they're not just foot soldiers, they're often leading these operations.
Seems that way. They're setting the pace, introducing new attack vectors.
And another factor you mentioned is exploiting human vulnerabilities.
Mm-hmm. They are incredibly good at this. Their social engineering is sophisticated. It targets inherent human trust or sometimes just a busy, stressed employee. This often makes even really strong technical defenses, well, less relevant if someone just opens the door.
Like we saw with Scattered Spider manipulating support staff at those big firms.
Precisely. It's a powerful reminder. Your tech can be top-notch, but if your people aren't prepared, haven't been trained effectively, that's your weak link.
And then there's the speed element, their sheer pace.
Yes. The speed and adaptability are huge differentiators. They learn and pivot to new methods incredibly quickly. Corporate cybersecurity strategies, policies, training updates, they often move much slower. It's an agility mismatch.
It sounds like they operate on a completely different clock.
Yeah. The numbers suggest they do. IBM security research found attackers like Scattered Spider can breach systems often within, say, 48 hours. But detection. The average time for corporate security teams to even realize they've been breached, it's around 200 days.
200 days. The lifetime for an attacker inside your network.
It's a massive, massive window of opportunity for them to do damage, steal data, set up persistence. Pretty alarming.
So when these attacks do succeed, what are the real impacts we're seeing? It's not just theoretical.
No, far from it. The impacts are severe. First, major financial losses. Direct costs of remediation, incident response, plus operational downtime. We mentioned that insurer facing over $5 million in losses. That covers fixing the breach, dealing with lawsuits, regulatory fines. It adds up fast.
And the money is just one part of it, right? There's the reputation hit.
Oh, absolutely. Reputational and brand damage can be devastating and long-lasting. Public trust just evaporates when customer data gets compromised. Think about that global retailer example. Customer confidence plummeted after their breach became public news. Rebuilding that trust takes years, if ever.
And then the regulators get involved.
Exactly. Breaches almost guarantee intense regulatory scrutiny. Depending on the industry and the data involved, the compliance violations can lead to huge fines. PwC estimates that fines just related to social engineering breaches average around $4 million per incident. So the cost of not preparing is clearly climbing.
Okay, this paints a pretty serious picture. So let's pivot to solutions. What can organizations actually do to fight back against these kinds of adaptive attackers?
Right, what works? One critical area is definitely stronger identity verification and specifically anti-SIM swapping measures. This means really strict protocols for identity checks, using strong multi-factor authentication, ideally not just SMS-based, and working closely with telecom providers.
That collaboration with telecom sounds key. Have we seen that work in practice?
Yes, some financial services firms have had real success reducing SIM swap incidents by partnering directly with the carriers to implement much stricter authentication procedures before any number porting happens.
So that's a tangible step. What else? The human element keeps coming up.
It does, and that means comprehensive, ongoing employee awareness and training is just non-negotiable. You have to regularly educate everyone, especially help desk and support staff, on the latest social engineering tactics, how impersonation works, secure communication practices.
Does the training actually make a measurable difference?
The data says yes, quite significantly. No B4 found that companies with regular, updated training programs reduce successful social engineering attacks by about 70%. So it's not just a compliance checkbox, it's a seriously effective defense. It arms your people.
Makes sense. What about the technology side? Catching things faster.
Definitely. Enhanced monitoring and rapid detection are vital. You need advanced cybersecurity monitoring tools, things that can spot unusual behavior quickly. Rapid threat detection systems, maybe using AI or machine learning, can identify suspicious patterns before a human analyst might.
Like the airline example you mentioned earlier.
Exactly. That global airline managed to stop what could have been a really bad breach because their AI-driven tools flagged the suspicious activity early and triggered a fast response. Technology can help if it's the right tech.
And you also hear a lot about zero trust architecture these days. Is that relevant here?
Hugely relevant. Adopting a zero-trust framework is a fundamental shift, but it directly counters these kinds of attacks. The core idea is simple. Never trust, Always verify. Don't assume anything inside your network is safe. Continuously check user identities, device health, access privileges for every request.
That sounds like a no assumptions approach to security.
That's a good way to put it. Forrester research suggests zero trust can cut successful cyber attacks by up to 50%. Why? Because it shrinks the attack surface and makes it much harder for someone who compromises one part of the system, like a help desk login, to move laterally and access sensitive data.
Okay, so better verification, training, monitoring, zero trust. Anything else?
One more thing. Simulated attacks and regular security drills. Practice makes perfect, or at least makes you better prepared. Regularly run simulations of social engineering attempts, phishing campaigns, even technical attacks. Test your defenses and your people's responses in a safe environment.
Like fire drills, but for cyber threats.
Pretty much. That tech firm we looked at, they significantly cut their vulnerabilities because they did frequent penetration testing and simulated attacks. It showed them exactly where their weaknesses were, including the human ones.
Okay, let's make this even more concrete. You mentioned real-world stories, earlier wins and failures. Can we look at those?
Yeah, they're very illuminating. Let's start with a success story. A large financial institution took this threat seriously. They proactively put in place robust SIM swap prevention measures. They built out a proper zero trust architecture. And critically, they implemented ongoing mandatory employee training.
So they layered their defenses. What happened?
They were targeted, multiple times actually, by groups using tactics very similar to Scattered Spider. But the defenses held. They successfully thwarted these attacks, protected their customer data, and maintained trust. The key takeaway: being proactive and comprehensive really works against these adaptive threats.
Okay, that's encouraging. What about the flip side? The failure example.
Right. Contrast that with a major insurer. They kind of neglected the human element. Regular training wasn't prioritized, and their identity verification processes hadn't been updated in a while.
So they were vulnerable to the kinds of tactics we've been discussing.
Exactly, and they got hit hard. A severe breach happened, traced back to social engineering. The fallout was significant. Hefty regulatory fines, serious damage to their reputation, and millions in financial losses.
A stark difference. The lesson there seems pretty clear. You can't afford to neglect training or let your security processes get stale.
Absolutely. Complacency is incredibly dangerous when the attackers are moving this fast.
So, looking ahead, how can organizations listening try to, future-proof themselves as much as possible against threats like Scattered Spider? What are the key priorities?
Based on everything we've seen, I'd say three things really stand out. First, prioritize continuous employee security education. It can't be a one-off. Threats change, so awareness needs to keep pace.
Makes sense. Keep that human firewall updated. What's second?
Second, make smart investments in advanced cybersecurity tools. Look at deploying better monitoring, AI-driven threat detection, and seriously consider moving towards a zero-trust framework. Proactive defense is key.
Okay, and third?
Third, engage with the wider community. Actively participate in industry cybersecurity partnerships, share threat intelligence, collaborate with government agencies like CISA. You can't fight this alone. Collective defense is crucial for staying ahead.
Right. So to kind of wrap things up, these younger hacker groups like Scattered Spider, they represent a really dynamic and serious threat. They're using advanced social engineering, SIM swapping. They're fast and adaptive.
Yeah, but the good news is that organizations aren't helpless. Proactive strategies, strong identity checks, rigorous and ongoing training, advanced detection tools, zero trust, these things demonstrably reduce vulnerability.
So the call to action for you, our listener, is pretty direct, isn't it?
It is. Take an honest look at your organization's vulnerability right now, specifically to social engineering and SIM swap attacks. Prioritize getting robust identity verification in place and make comprehensive adaptive security training a core part of your culture, not just an annual task.
And maybe a final thought to leave everyone with. Staying ahead of attackers, this agile, this adaptive, it really demands constant vigilance, doesn't it? Proactive defense isn't a project, it's an ongoing state of being in this landscape.
Well said. It requires continuous adaptation on our side, too. Thanks for exploring this with us today.
Yes, thank you for joining us. And one last time, remember to subscribe to the Technology Risk Podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts to keep up with these critical topics.